The Brew House was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewHouse.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. I'm Bill Pucko, and joined by always with Pat Duffy from the Breakroom at WCMF.
I figured I'd be gone by now. That Mike's agent would have called, said I was making him look too bad. It was time for me to go.
Mike, any truth to that?
My agent did call, but that's not what he said.
And it is happy that we are pleased to be joined by Democrat Chronicle writer, although it's unclear exactly what it is you write. Todd Clausen, who also serves as a Section 5 basketball referee. Nice to have you in, Todd.
Yeah, thanks for having me today.
What is it you write?
We write about a lot of different things, but mainly job-related issues, business issues.
You know, that kind of brings us right into the this whole March Madness thing. It's kind of outgrown at the sports specter to a large extent. Why do you think it's so popular?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, I think, but the main factor is it hits upon every aspect of the country. Everybody has a college that they went to, and they're going to root for their teams, and it just kind of brings together, these regional rivalries, which, by the way, the next 2 days, I don't know about you guys, I'm not going to get much work done. I'm just going to be watching it on the live stream on my phone, probably.
What accounts, you think, for the growth of this whole thing? Mike?
I think when some of the small schools started winning, somebody was asking me about this years ago, and I said, when I was a kid and growing up, and you probably remember this, the tournament was boring because UCLA won every year. And I'm not making it up. They won every year. The tournament was nothing because, I grew up near Philly, and in Philly, the Big Five was almost bigger, that's the local schools, than the NCAA tournament. Then when it started to grow, then when they opened it up, then when some of these smaller schools and smaller programs started to at least have those opportunities, when Princeton almost knocked off Georgetown or whatever it was, then I think it grew, exponentially. And now you look at it, you add into the brackets, which I think everybody likes to play. Then I think that's what brings in all the other people who enjoy the sport, even people who don't follow it as much.
What do you like most about it?
Oh, the fact that I get to get drunk and gamble at Thursday at noon. I mean, come on, that's
all right.
Come on, let's be real. Like this week.
Wait a minute, hold on. How is this different than any other week?
It's socially acceptable. That's what makes it so popular come on, it appeals to the worst in all of us, right? I'm going to have a bunch of beers during a weekday at noon, or I'm going to not do work and I'm going to watch it on TV. And I'm going to legally give money to someone at my job with the potential to win a whole bunch of money. And it's a legitimate social excuse for me to unplug from absolutely everything for 4 weekends over a month.
But to Pat's point, that really is the first couple of days. Because from that point on, then it's on the weekend, and then they're night games, really, the rest of the way.
Sure.
These first 2 days are a very interesting dynamic because it is. It's real games in the middle of a regular work
And everybody's bracket gets broken. The gambling aspect in terms of, involving everybody, too?
I mean, gambling in sports is huge all over. You see the NBA's trying to get more into it. There's daily fantasy sites. We think it might get passed in the state legislature this year. FanDuel and those types of sites. I mean, everybody's doing side bets, whether it's an office pool or whatever it is. The great thing about college basketball is, and I would put the atmosphere of a game, a sold-out Syracuse game, or with the Cameron Crazies or Notre Dame, that atmosphere is better than pretty much any other athletic sporting event atmosphere that you'll get, except for maybe 70,000 people at Ralph Wilson Stadium as they're tearing down the goalposts, and that excitement is what everybody, even after college, after you graduate, you want to tap back into, and it's just, go ahead.
No, keep going. What I was going to say was interesting about that is you don't get a lot of that in the tournament. That's the thing, because it's all these neutral sites. And there are times, and I've been covering some of the games, where it's dead in the building. It's that neutral site feel that you lose. But the tournament doesn't lose that because 98% of the people are just watching it on TV, and it doesn't matter to them. They're just focused on that bracket and who's playing.
You done a bracket? You got a winner?
I haven't finished my bracket. Well, yes, I do. Yes, I have my winner. I'm not telling you guys because...
Come on. You got to.
All right. I'm picking Duke.
Huh?
Yeah. Their route to the Elite Eight is kind of easy for Duke, and then when Duke's in the Elite Eight, it's Duke in the Elite Eight. I'm not picking against Coach K.
Aquinas, Duke? Some similarities there.
I think Aquinas would take him.
They would this year.
Red and blue.
Who you got?
Red and blue. Well, there's a couple different things. We got about, 8 Section 5 athletes that are playing in different games. And I had Thomas Bryant when he was at Bishop Kearney a couple years ago, his last year in. So I'm kind of pulling for Indiana. Coach Crean, he coached at Marquette where I went to, so there's another little connection there. Also, kind of putting on the stripes. We got Jeff Anderson, who's from Rochester, a referee. He's going to be opening up in Des Moines this week. I don't know what game he has to kick off, but I know he's out there too. So I'll be pulling for the stripes too, a brother official.
He's got a bracket for the referees, don't you?
Oh yeah,
Work that out.
Well, isn't that always? It's the third team on the floor, right? The
yeah, and usually the best team.
Who you got?
I have Michigan State winning it. We'll see. They may very well, as we're taping this, be ended up playing against Syracuse. They're deep, and they've got a veteran coach, but let's face it, it's basically a coin flip.
Yeah, consensus pick there, too. I think I've got Oklahoma. Now, we're going to look at Goose Gossage, who got off this last week when the original Rochester Press Box continued. For over 25 years, Hillside Works Scholarship Connection has empowered youth to embrace their dreams of college and careers. Thanks to a dedicated staff and employment partners, every year Hillside helps more than 4,000 young men and women move closer to their life goals. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This is the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion brought to you by our friends at the Hillside Family of Agencies. Pat, Rich Gossage, former Major League Hall of Famer, got off this last weekend talking about essentially widening the generation gap, it seems to me, about baseball, right and wrong, the Latin players, this, that, and it's not as good as it used to be.
Yeah.
As the resident young guy on the staff, how off base, or is he off base?
He's 1,000% off base. Okay, I get that back in the day there weren't a lot of options for sports entertainment, so what Goose Gossage did, everyone wanted to watch. But today, I have 14 different sports leagues, college, professional, whatever, that I can watch at any time. And you know what? Now, I love going to the ballpark and watching baseball games. Frontier Field is one of my favorite places to be in the summertime. But you know why nobody's watching baseball on TV anymore? Because it's boring. You know why Jose Bautista became such a landmark baseball player? Because of one move? Because it's exciting, because it doesn't happen. And the fact that Goose Gossage doesn't understand what Bryce Harper and what Jose Bautista and who do you call it, Cespedes too, why that's good for the game, shows to me that he needs to be put in a closet and just left there forever until the bones that he has that are almost dust continue turning to dust. And by the way, here's the best part. I'm sorry to take up all this time, but in 2008, Goose Gossage does an interview where he's asked, would you take steroids if they were popular in your generation? And he goes, you know what? I couldn't say that I would not. So you're upset with a guy like Jose Bautista for flipping a bat in the air, but you admit that you would have sullied the records of baseball by taking steroids had they been offered to you. How much further off base could he get, other than being on the diamond, on the pitcher's mound, where he should be not saying anything from now on because he's old and out of touch? I'm sorry.
I do give him points for honesty, though.
Well, that was the only point I was going to make. Go ahead, have an opinion, say what you want to say. I don't particularly like Bryce Harper as a player. He's a phenomenal player, not one of my favorite guys. He's 100% in the right. Harper even criticized the game now, saying that it is kind of boring. I don't think he actually used the word boring. But Gossage, can't you just have an opinion these days without it going way over the top?
No, he tied Cam Newton into it.
Oh, my God, it has nothing to do. Can't you just say, geez, there were things I liked about it. I embrace those rules. I understand why it's different. I don't like some of the things that have changed. I liked it better when I played. Okay, that's fine. Instead, he goes way over the top and talking about how Bautista embarrassed all Latin players. I mean, who is he to speak for all Latin players? Yeah, exactly. So now, Goose, shut up.
Things change with generations. I mean, all the games change and evolve. Was there anything to take from what Goose Gossage had to say that?
The one thing I see a lot, and you can go Harper, you can go Cam Newton, you can go even Tim Tebow, some of these guys, they start to put up this persona about themselves and they live through it and they grab attention with that. And whether that's trying to get endorsements or to be on SportsCenter more often, by pounding their chest and being Superman or do some of it, have fun, enjoy the moment. But there comes a point where some of it is a little bit of artificial. I think Cam kind of has gone over the board. And how much we hear about Tim Tebow and his convictions and stuff. So I don't mind guys expressing themselves. I love it. When Michael Jordan won that shot over Elo and just the fist pump. To me that seemed like true emotion, raw, right there in front of you. It's a memory etched in any sports fan's memory banks.
Makes the landscape a lot more interesting, and I think Gossage's value is like when something like that happens, I think it makes you appreciate it a little more.
Yeah, maybe. One thing I think about with baseball is they have all these unwritten rules. And the one that bothers me, and I've mentioned it a bunch of times, yet a regular season game against two bad teams can end with a base hit, and the teams can celebrate like they just won the World Series.
Right?
They're jumping all over each other. And I'm thinking, a guy can't stand in the batter's box and flip the bat when he won a playoff game, basically, with a grand slam. Yet you'll allow guys to run around and act like an idiot because he got a base hit through the middle in a game in September against two bad teams. So baseball's phony that way.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box presented by the Hillside family of agencies. Like it or not, when we return. As we go to break, it is time for the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Is called Turnbull at 343-2005.
And you don't need to be Native American to realize it is offensive. And it's not politically correct. It's the right thing to do.
He was an idiot for throwing him that pitch. The guy's phenomenal. He had no reason to give him anything, especially a fastball to hit.
It's simply that these two guys, Ronaldo and Tom Brady, are too good looking.
I like it, just don't admit to it.
Everybody wants to hate on the best in the world. He's here to stay, and he wants to build something big time.
The bottom line is, still nobody's going to like A-Rod.
As we come back from the break, time for the answer to the Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning Trivia Question of the Week. When you're searching for a local heating and air conditioning contractor, look no further than one of the most reliable teams in the area at Turnbull Heating and Air Conditioning. Just call 343-2005. See New York in a whole new way. Amtrak is offering a 15% discount for all travel inside New York State and to Montreal. Visit Amtrak.com for the See New York discount. Safe, comfortable, affordable, and easy. Amtrak. Enjoy the journey. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey. It's like it or not, Obama's bracket.
He's got North Carolina and Kansas in the final. I mean, pretty safe picks, right? I don't see much going out on the limb there. But I don't know. He hasn't had a good record on picking champions, has he, Mike?
He picked Kansas his first year in office, and then he said he figures might as well try them again, see if he can win.
So he's pretty much going safe on most of these picks. My take on it.
That's it. It's interesting to me that we take an interest in that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's because he's doing the same thing that most of the general public are doing. And he is a guy who actually has an interest in the game and has paid attention to the game. He talks about it a lot. So, yeah, he's not just the president going, oh, I like football and the team is there. No, I think he actually follows the game. So, what else does he have to do?
Well, Michael, like it or not, Mike Wallace takes a swipe out of... that's very good. That's very good, by the way. Mike Wallace takes a swipe out of his old quarterback when he leaves his team.
Mike Wallace should just shut up. I mean, seriously, he got a big money. Pittsburgh let him go. Pittsburgh, has let a few guys go, and he goes to Miami, doesn't do anything, got paid, and then he's taking shots at Teddy Bridgewater. He's been an underachieving, overpaid player through the last few years of his career. I don't understand that portion of it. Go there, say you're excited to go there, but why take a public shot at Teddy Bridgewater, of all people, a young quarterback in the league? I get a real quarterback. So go ahead, Mike. Maybe you'll put up some numbers this year.
He's been with like 4 teams in the last 5 years. It's like working for multiple radio stations over the course of your career.
Well, I mean, I kind of get where he's coming from. Listen, it's easy for you to sit there as, the resident cranky old guy and be like, just play the game and don't say anything. But he may have a legitimate gripe. I mean, he played well with Roethlisberger.
Wait a minute. What? You can have a legitimate gripe and don't make it public.
Who knows what happened behind the scenes? Listen, Minnesota hasn't been known as the best place for behind-the-scenes drama. You had the kicker with the accusations of him getting let go because he was pro-gay marriage. You had everything that went on with Percy Harvin that got bottled up pretty quick when he got shipped out of town the way he did. I don't know what's going on in Minnesota, but I'm thinking something bad had to happen for him to make those statements.
Well, Teddy Bridgewater wasn't there for any of that, and neither was Mike Zimmer.
Okay, but it's a culture, or I almost called you Tommy. It's a culture, Mike. Just like there's a losing
calling me
culture.
Tommy?
You're acting like Tommy. It's making me uncomfortable.
Okay, Toby.
So when was the last year that Mike Wallace had 1,000 yards?
That's a great question. I don't know.
2011.
Okay.
2 years ago, Teddy Bridgewater was there. He had
Right.
10 touchdowns. Last year, he gets under 500 yards. To me, this is a guy who is just trying to fight for his job. He's trying to just go out with a blaze of glory, blame it on the quarterback, and don't take personal responsibility. You know, the guy has not been close to a top line receiver since being with Pittsburgh.
Okay, fine, but you want to get paid? Blame somebody else. It's not my fault. I need to get my money. The guy only has so many contracts. Do what you got to do. Who cares?
What if
He
Chris,
signed the contract first.
what if Chris Hogan came out and said, now I'm playing with a real quarterback? You'd watch him
he
get
wouldn't say
all
that.
fired up.
Chris would say that. Chris Hogan would say that.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box brought to you by Amtrak Trains. Enjoy the journey, and unfinished business is next. The Rochester Press Box Stat of the Week, brought to you by Cariglio's Pizza. With 5 locations serving the Rochester area, visit carigliospizza.com today. The bigger the burrito, the bigger the fun. Dunkin's new Grande Burrito, a breakfast burrito packed with big Southwest flavor. Go Grande with veggie or sausage today. America runs on Dunkin'. Welcome back to the original Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. This portion brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Unfinished business. Pat.
This year, the Buffalo Bills are going to make the playoffs. I'm going to tell you why. Something happened for the first time in 20 years. The Bills are bringing back all 5 starting offensive linemen, right? And you know who can tell you how important that is? Former Bills general manager Bill Pucko, a guy who took a statue quarterback in Jim Kelly and made him a superstar. A guy who took a second-round pick with no knee in Thurman Thomas and made him a Pro Bowler. A guy who took an even more statuesque quarterback in Peyton Manning and kept him on his feet the entire season, entire career until he gets to Denver. We saw how that turned out. But my point is this. Your LaShawn McCoy signings are all well and good. Your Tyrod Taylor coming into his own as a quarterback, that's fantastic. But the reason why the Buffalo Bills are going to finally break this playoff drought is you have a great core of offensive linemen that are now growing together to only make better one of the best rushing offensive lines in the league last year. Get your popcorn ready.
That's a convincing case. I've always thought the offensive line was the single most important, until quarterbacks really became giant, single most important part of a football team.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily think they're done, and I do think they brought those guys back, but I think they're still going to draft somebody too, because one side of the line was superior last year. The other side maybe needs a little bit of work, so let's see what they do. Plus, you need those swing guys. People forget, you only draft 7 offensive linemen for a game. You're 5 starters and a guy who can play center and guard and a guy who can play guard and tackle. And sometimes that's the difference between winning and losing, who that guy is.
I'm going to go with this weekend's Ronald McDonald game. All-star game that involves all the high school players, great talent that are around. They're all raising funds for the Ronald McDonald House of Charities. Something that I was a part of. A couple years ago, when my daughter was born. We spent a couple nights in there as she had some surgery for a heart issue. So I just want to give a hats out, round of applause to all those high school kids and the Ronald McDonald House for what they do in our community.
Bring up high school basketball. Aquinas with that big double that they pulled off this year. I feel it's such a tribute, I think, to Section 5 in general, because their closest games for both the football and the basketball teams this year came within the section. Fairport gave Aquinas a real run in the sectional final, and then they go on to the state championship, and a couple of teams, the same thing with the football. It's good sports around here.
Aquinas, it's amazing. They're able to reload every year, get quality talent. What was really cool is Jameer, here's the one going to Notre Dame. When they announced his signing, Notre Dame put out this recruiting video on him, made him look like, almost like what SportsCenter would do with like the number 1 overall draft pick. What a great moment for him and his family, and, wishing him success, obviously, on both of those teams. A couple of things that'll be interesting going forward is, they have a young head basketball coach, but in terms of Chris Battaglia, the football coach, kind of wondering how long he'll stay there. There's been some rumblings that maybe he might, a couple years down the line or sooner, maybe explore other options outside of Aquinas football. So we'll see where it goes from there.
All right. I'm going to go back to something we talked about with the old guy, Goose Gossage, talking. And I'm going to speak, in this case, for all the old guys for just a minute. Because I'm also going to talk about Oscar Robertson. And I think to myself, you need to shut up, too. What is it with guys back, even pre my generation, when they criticize today's players? Look, it's okay to have an opinion. If you're a baseball player and you want to say, this part was better in my day, like the length of a baseball game, I think I would agree with you. I think a lot of people would. But some parts would be better. Some parts would evolve. Oscar Robertson, talk about the way the game was played when you played it. Talk about what you like. But to criticize a guy like Steph Curry and the way the game is played now, and to go so over the top to do it, makes you and your generation, and I guess mine too, look bad. Yes, there are some things that might have been better in the old days, but some things get better as they become newer. And I think sometimes these guys need to have an opinion, but keep it within a realistic sense when you start criticizing the new guys.
Because they're dragging us all down with them.
They are, these kids.
This portion of the original Rochester Press Box presented by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Pat.
We got to get done. It's almost time for Mike's Insure.
Mike?
I thought he was going to say nap, but
That would have worked. And Todd Clausen, thanks for putting up with us for the last half hour.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.
Go fill out the brackets now.
Alrighty. And again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week in the original Rochester Press Box.